There's no need to take notes for this. We do record these meetings, as Susan just noted, and they will be sent out to everybody that RSVP'd, and we'll also have it on our website. All the links that I referred to and all the information is easily found on our website. This is a meeting that is repeated, so if you have to leave early or would like to recommend it to a friend, we will be doing this again on a monthly basis. The next one will be a month from today on March 9th.
Good.
Okay, some general introductions. Again, my name is Lori Friedman. I'll be the host for today's call. I'm here with Joy Martin, and she's my partner leading the postcarding team here at IndiMarin. We've been doing this since 2019 together, before the pandemic, during the pandemic, after the pandemic. So she's here. She'll be answering questions in the chat. And also, we're really lucky today, Susan Morgan is here. She's our director. And she'll also be here to talk to you in the chat. If you have any questions, especially things beyond postcarding about our organization, she's a great one to have here to answer. A little bit about our organization, since most of you are probably new to us. Susan started this group in 2016 with just a few friends when Trump was first elected, with the general mission of just taking action to create a more just, caring, and inclusive America. And about 10 years later, we are still at it here. And with many of the same leaders that we had back then. We are a legacy chapter of Indivisible, meaning that we've been here since the very beginning. We're one of the larger chapters. We have over 12,000 members now, and we function both locally, statewide, and nationally. In election years, we work in mostly federal elections, helping to elect Democrats to both chambers of Congress, as well as the White House race during a presidential election year. But we're busy in off-election years also. Now, last year was, of course, the rise of the protest movement and the resistance movement, but that's included in sort of general advocacy that we do to promote a democratic government. Right now, we're at 12,000 members. We have 40% here in Marin County, which is just north of San Francisco, about 30% in other parts of California, and again, almost a third of our members come from out of state. So we are a hybrid organization. We work at multiple levels of government, and we both work both virtually and in person. And today we're here to talk about one of the many voter outreach programs we hold, which is postcarding. So one of the first things we did as a new organization, and we're still doing it about 9 years later, we also have active phone banking and texting and canvassing programs. Our agenda today is full. I'll be starting off talking about postcarding in general, the history of it, research, because that's the question we get most often is, does it really work? And we'll go through that and why it works. We'll talk about our strategy, how we choose from the many choices out there for postcarding, talk about our current campaigns, our plans for the rest of the year, and then get into the basics of how postcarding actually works, what your choices are. We have 3 different programs that you can get involved with, and then how to actually get started, get you signed up so that you'll be postcarding by the end of the day. And then we'll finish with a question and answer session. So a little bit about the history. Candidates have been sending out postcards to their voters for decades. But in 2016, we started to see the rise of it as sort of an organizational tactic done by specific campaigns, and most importantly, large groups that took it over and work in multiple elections across the country, do research, and it's considered a professional level tactic now, usually handled by groups outside of the campaigns themselves. And one of the things that happened over these last 8 or 9 years is a lot of research. There's been more research done on the effectiveness of postcarding than any other tactic, including canvassing and phone banking. So we have a lot of great data that tells us when and how it's best used, which makes it much easier for Joy and I to make decisions about where to work. The general effectiveness rate of postcarding is somewhere between 0.5% and 2%. That's low. That is lower than the other tactics like phone banking and canvassing. But it is enough to be impactful in a campaign if it's used correctly. So what we need to look at is, where can we get that 2%? How do we make a postcarding campaign work to that higher level? And it's very clear. We work in low profile elections, which are anything from a board of supervisors to a congressional election to a midterm election, anything that's not at the top of our craziness when it comes to elections. And we're lucky this year because we are in a midterm election. And so that's considered a lower profile election. And what that means is voters have less information thrown at them all the time. It's not on their social media 24 hours a day. It's not on television all the time. It's not everything what people are talking about, like a presidential election would be. So this is a great time to postcard this year because it is what we consider a low profile election, a lower turnout, more voters to work with that may not be as engaged as they would be for a big presidential election. We know that since it doesn't raise the effectiveness rate that much, that we want to work in just very close elections that are toss-ups, that are going to be decided by less than 3 points. We've got plenty of those this year to work in. There's different kinds of campaigns that you can write in, different times of the year. The most effective originally was thought to be a get out the vote campaign. Those postcards that are sent out maybe 6 weeks before an election, reminding people to vote, telling them where their voting location is, reminding them of any other dates, or maybe a website to check their registration status. Those kinds of things are been found to be very, very effective and really do bring people to the polls. But what we found over the last few years is that if you take that get out that vote postcard and you start with 1 or 2 postcards earlier in the year, and you also hit those voters with a phone call and a knock on their door, that you're going to see even a higher rate of voting. So a postcard is a really important part of a tactic where multiple things are used in order to get that voter engaged in voting. We also know that postcards are more effective with some types of voters than others. And voters like you and me that are engaged and working and probably vote in every election aren't really moved by a postcard. And even voters that vote in most elections aren't really moved by a postcard, but low frequency voters that don't vote regularly are very, very much affected by this type of approach. The word low information voter is also used. I don't really like that. I think it's kind of insulting to people. There's a lot of reasons why people aren't engaged in our political process, but these people that are on the fringes, that aren't actively engaged in voting and in politics, are moved by a postcard. Also, older voters are impacted by postcards more, and anybody that's isolated, people that live in rural areas, those individuals can also be moved with a postcard. And then lastly, there's a lot of different kinds of messages that we can send to to voters. And there's a couple of things that have been found to be not only effective, but so effective that we really don't do anything else but them anymore because it's the only thing that has been found to be significantly effective. And one is called social pressure. And that's where we put a little bit of pressure on a voter, a peer pressure, kind of a message such as your neighborhood is counting on you or your community is counting on you, be a voter, those kinds of things that just create that little bit of extra pressure. It wouldn't work with you and me, but it does work with these voters that are more on the edges of our voting population. And then anything that has voting information in it, the date that early voting starts, information about how to request your mail-in ballot if you need to do that in a state. Those things have also been found to be very, very effective. So that's what we're concentrating on and working on in today's modern world of postcarding. So looking at that, when Joy and I and Susan talk about where we're working, our goal is to maximize the impact of your postcard. There are a lot of choices out there. There are a lot of groups, and then among the groups, there's a lot of different kinds of campaigns. So when we look at all those things, all those check boxes that we want to see, the right population and the right kind of election and the right message, it's really important that we're able to, within that campaign, reach a critical mass of voters because we're still reaching a fairly small number. And so you want to be working with a partner that's able to hit all of the voters so that that 2% or 1.5% is enough voters to change an election. And then to do that, you also want to be in a toss-up race where you don't have to move that many voters in order to have success. And the best example I can give of that is what happened here in California last year with Adam Gray in California District 13. He ended up winning by 187 votes, and he was our primary postcarding target. He won because of postcarders. If we had postcarded for him, he wouldn't have had that 187 vote margin. So it's races like that we try to concentrate on, the closest races where we're working with a group that can reach an enormous amount of voters. And that's how we decide. But even above that, even using critical mass and lots of toss-up races, sometimes we still have a dozen or 24 races out there to choose from. How do we decide where to focus? And we use geography because we believe that the most effective voters are close to home, and we have enormous numbers of volunteers, and the way to distribute them is evenly is to encourage everybody to work close to home. So that's what we do. We work in California. At the Senate level, we don't have competitive Senate races here in California, but we often do in Nevada and Arizona. So that's where we've worked a lot over the years. This year, everything's on the East Coast. So we'll be looking at races on the East Coast. But geography is an important thing to consider. If you live close to a competitive House race or a competitive Senate race, that's likely to be where you're going to want to work. If you don't, and many people in the country don't live close to one of those races, we invite you to join us. We have people writing with us from all over the country, and we will put you in the most impactful and important races. The other thing that we consider, even among this group of possible races, is what's needed the most. And I have a pretty good relationship with Anna Martin. She's the head of the postcarding department at Activate America, who is our partner in postcarding. And I just talk to her when I'm running low on addresses. I talk to her and ask her, where's the greatest need this week? Where, with everything else being equal with a group of races, where do you need the most amount of help? And we pop in there. We are a large group. We can fill that need. A great example for that is last year, we had a congressional race that became competitive, very competitive in 2024 at the last, kind of late. It was like in July and August, and that's pretty late. So it was Derek Tran in California 45. And at that point, he sort of sprung onto the political world and wasn't very well known and needed help because all of the other campaigns were fairly well established. So we worked for him in the last couple of months of the year, along with Adam, and he ended up winning by 650 votes also. And those are two of the 3 seats that we flipped here in California. So we do look at relative need. The other thing that we try to address with our writers is rapid response campaigns. Sometimes Anna Martin and Activate America will come to us and say, we have kind of an emergency campaign. It may be a group of voters that somehow got missed and just sort of popped up that we need to reach and catch up with our postcarding sort of schedule. It could be something happens in a particular district that creates an urgent need around an issue that we want to capitalize on. And we call these rapid response campaigns, and they're not made publicly available, but she'll make them available to some of the larger groups like us, and we can kind of pop in there and meet that need. So those are some of the ways that we look at where to postcard and how to postcard. And we anticipate usually have about half a dozen to a dozen of those rapid response campaigns a year. So given that, where are we going to be targeting? It's early in the year. This is not a final list. We still have many primaries, especially at the Senate level, that could determine maybe some more competitive races. We also have redistricting challenges out there, both at the legislative and the court level. So this is an incomplete picture. But right now, we have 4 races that we'll be targeting in California, 13, 22, 45, and 48. And in the Senate, we'll be looking at races in Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, and Maine. One last thing before I move on, just to touch base on how we approach primaries and candidates versus issues. We do not endorse one primary candidate over another in most of these very close races. However, when that district or that state elects their Democrat, we will vote, we will support them. Our goal is to take back Congress. Our goal is to create a congressional checks and balances on the White House. We will support the Democrat. And sometimes that means that the positions they take on issues may not be one that we personally agree with. So that does come up a little bit. The elected official is accountable to their voters, not necessarily to their volunteers. So our goal, again, is control of Congress, electing as many Democrats as we can. And so most of the time, we'll start talking about candidates after the primary when those voters in that particular district or state have voted for the person that they think will get them a general election win, and then we'll go ahead and support them. Currently, today, on our website, we're working in California 48 solely right now. It's early in the year, and here in California, when they redistricted with Proposition 50, which was our answer to the redistricting challenges out there in the world, we redrew about a dozen districts here. So they're moving along with lists, trying to make sure that all their lists are correct with the new districts instead of the old. 48 was the first one they did, so that's where we'll be working. And I'll show you that script and that campaign in a little bit. Up next, and I just heard about this a few hours ago, we will be working in the North Carolina primary probably in about 2 weeks. We have a candidate, Roy Cooper, there who is going to win. He's running unopposed for the Senate race. And so we'll be doing some work to get primary voters out there. And the reason we work in primaries outside of the candidates themselves is just to get Democrats voting, because primary voters are much more likely to become general election voters. So we want as many people voting in the primary as possible. And then there is a special election pending in Virginia, kind of along the lines of our Proposition 50, to create new districts there. It is held up right now in the courts. If it comes through, it's scheduled tentatively for the end of April. Most people seem to think it will eventually get approved and get actually scheduled. We will do some work for them, but it will be later in the spring. All right, so postcarding options. We have 3 different ways to postcard with us. If you are here in Marin County or close by, Joy, who's here today, holds weekly Tuesday morning community gatherings at the Panera Bread here in Nevada. It's in the Vintage Oaks Shopping Center. She's been doing this for years. It's a wonderful community. It grows every week. It's very welcoming. We have new people joining all the time. You can RSVP on our calendar, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So that's for local people. We will be adding additional in-person postcarding events as we get busier in the election year, a little bit further along. Then we have our online program, which is done again through Activate America. That's our partner, and I'm going to walk you through that too in a minute. You can request your addresses and scripts, and they'll be emailed to you within moments, and you can do that from any place in the world at any time of the day or night. You can make that request. And then we also have a postcarding party program, and that is a wonderful way for people to multiply their impact. By bringing your friends and family together, requesting a few more addresses and the script, you can hold your own events either virtually or in person and multiply your effect. I had, I think, about a dozen hosts in 2024 that were running their own little events, and some were small, just a few friends, and others were larger. Across the country, we wrote thousands of postcards through our postcarding parties. And again, it's a great way for you to grow your organizing skills and bring more people involved into the work. So how does postcarding actually work? A lot of people think that we do all the work, and we actually don't. Every group has a master organization that they work through. So for us, it's Activate America. There's about a half dozen to a dozen of these groups across the country. We work with Activate America for a couple of reasons. One is that they are highly professional and they are research-based. So they use all of those criteria that we talked about, the best scripts, the best time to send things, the best kinds of campaigns. They also are the only group that works in California. So that is another reason why we work with them. And they are a professional, fully funded organization. They have professional data analysts on board that take the voter lists and curate them to create groups of voters that we can target around maybe a particular demographic. Maybe they're older Americans, or maybe that might be motivated by a Medicare script. Maybe they're women that might be motivated by a reproductive rights script. They create these very curated and very targeted groups, and then they write the scripts. And they partner with that with people on the ground. So if they're writing in North Carolina, they're working with a North Carolina group to help with script development. If they're writing in Georgia, they'll be working with a Georgia group. And if they're working in the Central Valley here in California, they have partners there. So everything is designed around getting local feedback. That's another thing that we really like about them. They're also very large. They're able to reach a critical mass in any campaign that they offer. So I'm going to go through the website right now and show you exactly how you can get involved in all these things. Our website is very easy. It's just indivisibleMarin.org. And there are 3 different ways, again, that you can postcard with us, and I'll go through all of them. Making an online request through our system with Activate America, RSVPing to one of Joy's events, or holding a postcard party. And this is what our website looks like. Very simple, very easy to maneuver. We have a home page, we have an About tab, like many groups have. The Learn tab talks about ways that you can stay informed and be updated on all the things that are happening around the country right now. Good Substacks, good news sources. The Fight page is about resisting, and it revolves around 2 things: protests, which are local, but we have some great sites there for you to find local protests if you're not already involved. We also have a program to help people learn to call their reps. We have training for that. There's a build section that talks about how to build your sort of personal outreach, donating, and then we have our calendar page. But the page for you for writing today is under the elect column, and that is all of our voter outreach. We have canvassing programs and phone voters page, but for us, we're going to go to the Write Voters page. And this is everything you'll ever need to write with us. It'll have all the information, all the links are right here. There's a general first couple of paragraphs that talk about some of the things we've already covered today. There's a link here to join our writing team, which you're already going to automatically be on because you came today. So you'll be getting all of our updates and all of our emails. We list our current campaign, which is California District 48, and what it's about, and some of the things we anticipate coming in the near future, that Virginia special election and then North Carolina. Then there's a section on how to get started postcarding at home. And I do want to walk you through this a little bit so you'll get the high points of it. What you need to do is get an account on Sincere, which is the online distribution system that Activate America uses. We have our own portal within there that will be the campaigns that we're working on. And once you've got that account, you'll have 24-hour access to the campaign. You'll also get your own dashboard where you'll be able to track everything that you've been working on, as well as the totals for our team, which is the IndiMarin team. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and click this link that's here, and it's going to take you to the sign up form. It's going to walk you through some steps. It's very simple. It's like signing up for any kind of an online account. The only thing I'll warn you is that if you don't get responses, check your spam. It's got a little bit of a low tolerance to spam, but it's usually there if it's doesn't come directly to your email. And so when you click it, you're going to get a mobilize form, and you just fill it out and click Keep Me Updated. You'll get an email response that will have the link to sign you up in Sincere. I can't show you that because I'm already in the system, but it's quite simple. I need to stop my share because I want to show you real quick what that looks like when you get into Sincere. And this is what your Sincere page will look like. It'll have your name. If you have used Sincere before for other groups like letter writing or other postcarding groups, you might see a different word up here, but go ahead and click and make sure that you're in the Indivisible Marin platform. And when you're there, mine looks a little bit different because I'm an organizer, but there's 2 things I want to just highlight. One is the request support. If you have any questions at all, you can send me and Joy a direct email through this system, and we'll be able to answer your questions. On the left-hand side, all you want to do is go to campaigns, and the campaigns will show you what is available. Oh, they just put this in probably 5 minutes ago because I just checked this. So we'll be putting some addresses in for North Carolina soon, but here's the campaign that we are actively in. So when you look at this, you pick the campaign you want, you just click on it, and it will give you all the information that you need about it. It'll bring up a little page that will tell you the background of the race, what's going on, who we're writing to, what the deadline is. That's a very important thing to note. And if you want to read the script, you just go down to the bottom under Files and click the script. And this will bring up everything that you need to know to write postcards. I'm not going to go through this particular thing. You can read through it on your own, but this is a very typical script that, dear so-and-so, your congressional district will change for the 2026 election, so your vote will matter more than ever. A little bit about the incumbent, gives you some good voting information, and then thanks and your name. All the campaigns that you have, you'll be able to bring this up and look at it without necessarily committing to writing for them. So you can explore the different campaigns that are available and see which one you want to do. All of them will be high need. That's why they're in our portal. They'll all be very, very high need for writers. This I do want to go through because this is where we get so many questions about how you actually write, and the questions that are going to come up in your head as you begin to write postcards. A couple of the things. It's very important that you follow the script word for word, that we don't change it at all. They are professionally developed scripts. There are reasons why things are written the way they are, even if it seems a little bit odd to you. And our promise is that we will not change the scripts at all. If you have a question about a script or something's really bothering you, go ahead and reach out to Joy and I. We can help you with that, but do stick to the script word for word. You want to write by hand. You don't want to mass produce anything. And this is something that people say, oh, I just want to print out all the labels because that'll save me time. Or can't I just run my postcard through my printer and print it on there? I can do thousands of them. The candidates will, all the voters will get personal, fancy mailers from the candidates, from different groups that support that candidate. They're beautiful, they're glossy, they're going to get those. The point of a postcard is to be different, is to look different, to stand out in your mail. We want them to be as handwritten as possible. Someone told me, oh, they look like children's done them. And sometimes it does look like that. So you want everything very personal. Don't print anything. Everything needs to be handwritten. And then the other question we get a lot is, well, what kind of postcards do I buy? And on our webpage, I'll go back to that in a minute, we have actually a document with links of all kinds of places where you can buy postcards. What we recommend is don't spend a lot of money on something fancy, because research has shown that they're not more effective. And there is some research that shows that actually the fancier the postcard, the less it's actually read, because it just blends in with the rest of your mail and people just toss it with all the other election stuff that they get in the mail. So we use plain cardstock when we do our events, and I just get pre-stamped blank postcards from the post office because I'm too lazy to put stamps on. I like the pre-stamped ones. Whatever works for you is fine. You can certainly order things if you want to. I just don't want people spending more money than they really need to on these kinds of things. If you do, just keep them sort of neutral. Certainly if you have a stack of printed postcards with flowers on them or something in your personal collection, go ahead and use them. Again, we just don't want people spending money unnecessarily. We want you to use highlighters. We're going to show you some samples in a minute, different colors, underlining things, putting stickers on. That's all great. We really encourage all of that. When you sign it at the end, please only use your first name or initials. Don't use your last name, and you don't put your return address on anything. And again, decorating them is what we're looking for. And I'm going to show you some examples here in a minute.
Just looking for that. I just want to chime in about, we feel kind of strongly that it's better to not buy cards that have been pre-printed with some slogan or marketing imagery, because then it's more likely to look like it's a mass-produced mailer from the campaign. And you'll see here what makes these postcards more likely to be read is when they stand out as a personal note from an individual, and they look like that. So back over to Lori.
Yeah, this is Joy. This is one of Joy's postcards that she wrote out to demonstrate it for us. And this is literally how simple it is. It's just a simple address of the voter, a little voter message, and just stars. And this is what we do. We've been doing it this way for 10 years. And this is what the message looks on the back. It's simple, short, highlighted, underlined, different colors. It looks handwritten. It looks very personal, just with Joy's first name. And this is example of a script that we used 2 years ago in the midterms leading up to the primary here in California. Now, in California, we all receive our mail-in ballots. We don't have to request them. So we're just reminding people of that. Dear Vanessa, every California voter will receive a mail-in ballot for the March primary. Who you vote for is private. Whether you vote is public record. Be a voter. That's a little bit of that pressure that we were talking about. Elect Democrats to protect reproductive rights and democracy. Thanks, Joy. This was a targeted list that was sent to women only, of probably, I would guess, maybe less than 45 years of age, to target what was a prime candidate, issue for them. So this is a great example of a script that is targeted to a particular voter with a little bit of social pressure there, to encourage them to vote. So a few reminders. Look at the deadlines. There's really just 3 things that we want to remind people of. Look at the deadlines and don't request more addresses than you have time to do. And so at the beginning, when you start out, just maybe 10 or 20 to begin with, and get your feel for what your pace is. Just as an example, for Joy's events, they write 10 postcards in an hour and a half. Now they're socializing a little bit too, but it may take you a little bit longer than you think to finish them. And so start with really small requests. Remember, you can go in and request any amount at any time. But what's very hard to do is return them. So if you request a couple hundred and think that you can do that in a few weeks and you don't get to it and you return them at the end, which is possible, it's almost impossible to get them written a day or two before a deadline. So we would rather have you make very small requests and make them all the time until you get your pace down, what you like to write. Look ahead at your schedule, see what you think you're going to be able to do. And then before you request large amounts, make sure that you have all your supplies available, because sometimes it takes longer than you think to get them. So we ask that you have your supplies available before you start. I'm going to go back and finish up a couple things on the website that I didn't do, but before I do that, I just want to remind people of some other events that we have going on here in Marin, and with our organization. Tomorrow, if you're here in Marin and you want to join Joy, tomorrow's a Tuesday, so she's there at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we have continuing introductions to different voter outreach tactics. We have a phone banking call at the end of February, this call again in March. We do election updates. If you like hearing more about the races in the Senate and the House, and where we're going to be working, we have a monthly call for that. It's on March 8th, and then we'll be adding more in the spring. I just want to cover one more thing that I forgot to do. We went through virtual postcarding. If you want to RSVP for Joy's event and you are here in Marin, you can do that here. You can also do it on our calendar. And there's also links here to join the next Zoom training, and if you're interested in being a postcard party host, you can sign up here and someone will personally contact you to help walk you through that if you need that. So I just wanted to finish up. Sorry, I didn't get back to the website. Okay, so that's it. And we are open for questions. I know it's a lot of information. Were there any questions, Joy and Susan, that we should answer, or should we allow some open hands here?
I
answered everything.
Yeah, I think we answered everything in the chat. Maybe you could elaborate a bit on buying the postcard stock. What are some good tips for that? Maybe explaining cutting card stock as a technique.
Yeah, so when we do our events, when Joy does her events, we just use plain cardstock and we cut it into 4. You don't want to use anything more than a 4x6 size because it won't work with a postcard stamp. It has to be 4x6 or less. So we can cut those up and that works fine. That's the cheapest way to go. And Staples or Office Depot, which is what we have here, will cut those for you if you don't want to cut them yourself. You can get plain blank postcards. You can buy them at an office supply store. You can also buy them online at Amazon. You can also buy pre-stamped ones through the post office directly. Those can take a little while to come to your house. They won't come overnight through Amazon, but they are nice because you don't have to put the stamps on them. You can buy postcard stamps in bulk at the post office. You can also order those online and have them delivered to you. As far as postcards themselves, on our website, there's a link to supplies. And on that website page, that writing page, there's a link there, and it will list many different sites for you if you want to order fancy ones with pictures and voting slogans on them and such. They're recommended by us or by Activate America themselves. Again, they're great, but don't feel you have to spend the money if you don't want to. There's no evidence that shows that they're more effective. And in fact, again, they can be actually less effective than the home ones. But people love to do them. And some people, we've had some artistic people here that have just designed their own and had a great time with that. So have fun with it, be creative. This is a chance to be artistic and creative, do what feels good to you. But I just don't want people to feel like they have to spend money, because the postage does add up. It does add up for people. So, but everything is on our website, all the links that you have. Just explore that web page and you'll see all of that will come up, and it's pretty easy. Out to us anytime, not only through the Sincere platform, but on our website. There's a contact us form. If you have a question about postcarding, anything, just go ahead and email us, and Joy and I will get the email and get back to you within 24 hours, whatever your question is.
Great.
Okay, well, that was easy. That was great. You guys were wonderful. I love to see you starting. It's one of the things that I love the most is getting new people involved. And I know it was the first thing I ever did was write a postcard ever as a volunteer. And now I'm doing a lot of other things, obviously, but it's a great entry point. Almost anybody can do it. And it's very empowering. If you're sitting around right now feeling like, what in the world can I do? This is just a nightmare. You will feel better the minute you write a postcard. I guarantee it.
John, did you raise your hand?
I did.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I missed the first few minutes, so I don't know if you talked about it, but it looks like you're only sending postcards to low propensity Democrats or left-leaning voters, and so you don't recommend sending postcards to nonpartisan or independent voters?
We do write to democratically leaning unaffiliated voters here in California. One of the things that you get when you work with a group like Activate America is that they have the ability to find out where you lean. Our browsing histories are public, and they have about somewhere between an 85 to 95% accuracy in identifying a left-leaning voter, even though they're unaffiliated. So we will get those, but rest assured that they are very highly likely to vote Democrat. There's no evidence at all that postcarding works with a Republican-leaning candidate, a Republican-leaning voter. So we don't bother to do that.
Yeah, and before we jump, if any of you have feedback for us about this session, this is our first intro to postcarding this year. So feel free to raise your hand also with any feedback and your thoughts about whether, you'll now postcard or was it too much information, whatever you want to say, we welcome that. And if you need to jump off and don't want to stay for the interactive portion, feel free to sign off as well.
I encourage
Larry.
you to explore the website and play around with it, and then email us if you have any questions.
Yeah, Larry has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
With the current atmosphere, a number of Republicans, one particularly that I know is a very strong Republican, stopped being a Republican and is now an independent, and there are other Republicans that are against what's going on. Is it possible that they'll be targeted in the campaigns because they can be seen as left-leaning in their
They will be
churches?
targeted in phone banks and canvassing, but not for postcarding. There's no way to identify them for one reason. And again, people that feel really strongly about something usually aren't moved by a postcard. They don't need a postcard because they're going to be motivated enough. We're trying to reach out to those people that are more on the fringes. But you're right, we can't catch everybody. It's an expensive, labor-intensive way to reach voters, and there's no practical way to do that that's cost-effective. And I personally would feel uncomfortable asking people to pay for that themselves when there's no evidence that it would turn enough voters to voting for a Democrat to be worth it.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the great feedback in the chat. Really appreciate it.
You guys are great. Thank you for giving up your afternoon to be here with us. And feel free to come back next month. We'll cover a lot of the same material, but we'll be talking about the new campaigns that we have coming up. You'll also get emails from me and Joy regularly about any new campaigns that are launching. And we hope to have some guests that come back and speak to us periodically. Usually Anna Martin comes and talks to our postcarders at least once a year, twice a year, just to let you know what it's like on their side of it and what they go through when they are looking at how to pick campaigns and who they use to help write their scripts. And it's just very informative. So we plan on doing that at some point this spring and probably again later in the summer.
Thank you. Larry's got his hand up again.
I do have a question. I belong to a PAC, and aren't we required to put information on our card that it's from us and that we're not working for a particular candidate, that kind of information?
No, Activate America is a independent, it's a independent expenditure group, and they are allowed now by law to at certain levels to coordinate with campaigns now. So we don't have to identify that we're working through anybody at all. All you have to just say is you're a volunteer.
Yeah, but for our own local campaign, I believe we're still required because we're a PAC.
It's possible because we only work in federal elections. We don't work in anything below a congressional election, and that's why we don't have to do that. But yes, the rules are different, and they can also be different in different states. But we're following all the rules and all the laws. It's just for your own privacy that we ask people not to put their own identifying information in there. And another question that people often ask is, well, I'm writing to North Carolina, but I live in California. It's going to be postmarked California. Does that matter? It doesn't. They've actually looked at that and shown that it doesn't matter where the postcard comes from. It doesn't decrease the effectiveness. Most people in purple districts and states are so used to being the center of the election world and getting a lot of national attention that it doesn't affect them. They're very used to it. So you can write anywhere and feel comfortable that most people don't even notice the postmark, but if they do, it won't matter.
Right. And no matter where you live, I don't know how many of you might live outside of California. You know, these districts that we're writing for in California, we've chosen that because it is our home state, but it ranked in the most competitive races in the country. So it's not like, oh, why would I write in California because I live in, Maryland or something. It's like, well, I'm going to be writing for some of the most competitive congressional seats. And I'm going to work with Indivisible Marin because they seem pretty organized and they've got a good, program. And so I just want to make sure people don't feel like they need to keep their postcarding local to their own state because, as Lori said, it doesn't really matter where the postcards are sent from. And we are very scrupulous about making sure that we only recommend races to our volunteers that are the most competitive. We want you to have the most impact. So we're not going to have you work in a race that's a big, sort of barely likely to be successful.
There are choices. I know that people out there may live in places like Michigan or Pennsylvania and Iowa where there are equally competitive races, and I can help you with that if you really feel strongly that you want to work in a very competitive race, but just not in California for the House. Totally fine. I can help you with that. But most people don't live near. There's only 14 of them this year, so most people do not live near a competitive congressional race. That's the sort of the sad part of our politics right now is the country's so polarized and gerrymandered, but we will always have a space for you to come work with us and write with us. There's been years where we've had 10 flip races in California alone. We have a lot of everything here. So there's always more work than enough work to go around. Let's put it that way. And we have really good results. I mean, what we did with Derek Tran, we had the two closest races in the country in 2024, and we won both of them here. So we have a pretty good track record of getting stuff done. All right. Well, I will let everybody sign off then, unless there's questions. Again, reach out to me either through the Sincere site or through at the www.indivisibleMarin.org, and we can answer your questions within 24 hours.